Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Orgasmic Birth podcast, where we dive into the complex, pleasurable, and sometimes challenging truths about childbirth. I'm Deborah Pascali-Benaro, a doula trainer, a Lamaze educator, advocate, and director of Orgasmic Birth, The Best Kept Secret, our award-winning documentary that started a movement around the world. Today, we're exploring a topic that's at the heart of so many people's experiences with pregnancy and birth: risk. What does it mean when we talk about risk in childbirth? And how did a sacred, joyful, powerful, and pleasurable experience become one too often defined by fear, pain, and risk? So let's start with the concept of risk itself. Risk in childbirth, like any medical situation, refers to the possibility of something unexpected or unfavorable happening. This could range from complications for the birthing parent or the baby to specific conditions like high blood pressure or even breech presentation. How risk is defined, though, is completely different by different caregivers. For example, community midwives versus hospital midwives to physicians, and in different regions or countries, all have their own definition of what creates risk. For example, when it comes to breech, some people call breech another variation of normal, and science too is supporting that the majority of people with breech babies can have a safe vaginal breech birth. But I know many providers who recommend a planned cesarean birth in the same situation, as they define risk in different ways, or maybe their training didn't include how to actually support these risks. So risk in many cases is where and with whom you receive care and your caregiver's definition of risk. Another example is some hospitals. I'm in New Jersey. We have hospital cesarean birth rates in many places from 30 to 50%, while those people that birth at home or in a birth center often has a 5% cesarean birth rate. How can that be when, if we use the same definition of low risk, depending on what door you begin labor in, your home or a birth center or hospital, your risk actually changes because you have the odds of a cesarean of the rate of your caregivers and the facility that you work in. So add to that the words we hear that may make people feel they're at risk. You're getting so big. You're 39 weeks and soon your placenta will get overcooked. You're too old, you're too fat, you're too fill in that blank, ... There's so much scare that's said without even realizing the fear it creates, and that undermines and creates a lack of trust in one's ability, body, and baby. So I have to ask you, have you heard words that created fear and made you feel at risk? Please write us. I'd love to hear from you. Deborah, Debra, at orgasmicbirth.com. Or as you're listening to this, write your quote, write your story, post it on social media, and how people, their words, right, created fear rather than care, right? We have to start talking about this. Words are powerful too. And tag us at Orgasmic Birth. Let's add all our voices to stop putting us at risk with words, overuse of valuable technology, or lack of support for all the ways we can support a calm, confident birth. So historically, childbirth has always carried some degree of risk. Yet, in many cultures, birth was still seen as powerful, transformative experience. It was sacred, a rite of passage for families and communities. For centuries, birth wasn't just a medical event, but a profound, life-affirming social process, often at home, surrounded by family, guided by midwives, and women who passed down the skills of comfort, touch, song, dance, prayer, and the many ways to transform pain to comfort and celebrate the power of birth. But today, birth is often experienced very differently. For many people, it's come to be associated with clinical environments, bright lights, cold rooms, strangers, interventions, and with a focus on managing pain and risk. Rather, imagine if we flipped it to ask the question, how can we create calm, confidence, and comfort so birth is easier? That's my question. If you've listened to podcast number 4 with Dr. Sarah Buckley, you understand how the hormones of childbirth are the same hormones of intimacy and pleasure, and they need the same circumstances to flow, to feel safe, private, unobserved, and undisturbed. Over the last century, we've had many advances in medical science, and we've dramatically improved outcomes for many who face real complications during childbirth. But as medical management has become more central, we've begun to see a shift in how birth was perceived. Rather than a natural process, it became a medical event. Most hospital rooms look like sick rooms. They've changed the experience for many, stripping away the circle of support and the traditional ways of comfort, replaced by a bed-in technology. We've sterilized the process with the clinical environment rather than a home-like space where movement and comfort flows easily, and women and birthing people are the center of care, listening to their body and baby, finding positions that support you, birthing upright using gravity that creates ease and pleasure. Now, this doesn't mean that childbirth isn't inherently powerful, beautiful, and yes, pleasurable and orgasmic. But when birth becomes something we're trained to fear, the chance to connect deeply with the process can be overshadowed by stress and anxiety. Studies show that stress and fear can actually increase a person's perception of pain and increase the likelihood of medical interventions, creating a feedback loop where fear and risk become tightly linked. However, a growing movement today aims to bring birth back to its roots as a positive, powerful, empowering experience. Yes, that's why we're speaking up about orgasmic birth, because science supports that a calm, positive attitude toward birth enhances safety and actually creates more ease. That is why we know a safe and respectful birth is one where people prepare by addressing their fears, listening to positive stories. That's why we're telling them here, where challenges are overcome that guide you to find techniques that support your confidence and comfort. Knowledge is power. Take time to learn practices, emphasizing relaxation, rhythm, and rituals, as my dear late mentor, Penny Simpkin, taught. Add that to the many pleasure practices that I teach in our Pleasurable Birth Essentials course. Consider your support including a doula so you're prepared to make informed choices. There's a lot of evidence that these approaches can make a real difference. When you feel empowered to make choices about your birth, even if things don't go as planned, you will remain more positively connected to the experience, to your body and your baby. Keep your power so your voice and choice are heard. So why does this matter? Because birth in all its forms deserves to be remembered as something more than a risk event. It deserves to be memorable, powerful, and yes, pleasurable. When we give space for that perspective, we honor birth not just as a medical event, but as a sacred journey that holds space for both the safety of modern medicine and the timeless wisdom of our bodies. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Orgasmic Birth Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about empowering and mindful approaches to birth, check out our Pleasurable Birth Essentials and learn how so many people are creating positive, pleasurable, powerful births. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we talk to experts, share real stories, and explore the choices available on this journey. Remember, birth is powerful, and so are you.